All right, everybody, welcome to the 415th edition of the Holy Backboard Podcast. I am Dustin here in Rip City, and I got my man.
Sage kicking it live and direct in Beaverton, Oregon. Very excited to be back talking about these Portland Trailblazers. Yeah, man, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Yeah, it's been an interesting summer so far. Before we get into the moves, I just give me one word to describe Joe Cronin's summer move so far.
One word is confusing.
Okay, I'll go unexpected. So along the similar genre lines. Portland, before the draft, traded Anthony Simons, an expiring contract, to the Boston Celtics for Jrue Holiday, who is coming off of a bit of a down season, but does have 2 additional years on his contract. So three total. Basically, Brad Stevens, when asked, why did you trade Jrue Holiday or Kristaps Porzingis,
So,
Maverick a second apron. So this is not a deal that they would have done had finances not been involved. Portland then, I don't think it's stunning that they traded Anthony Simons. I think the writing was on the wall, but I think who they got for him was pretty unexpected. Then they trade back in the draft, pick up a 2028 unprotected first from the Orlando Magic, swap 11 and 16 with the Memphis Grizzlies, and take Yang Hanson. Again, I think that was a stunner, shocking pick. We will get to see our first look at Hanson this week. Summer League kicks off on Friday, July 11th against the Golden State Warriors. And I don't think a trade down, nobody really that threw anybody for a
no,
loop. I
that
think
was cool. 'Cause
the
especially with
pick
how the draft was going at that time. I was like, okay, understandable, get more picks, you know, because you got a 2026 first round pick, and that's valuable since, doing the 2-for-1 thing in the future is very good, especially if we take that next step, having a second first round pick. Very,
2028.
oops.
Yeah. So a little bit down the line, but still could be valuable. And then I think honestly, the craziest move of the summer was just DeAndre Ayton just was like, peace, I'm out. And at first, I was like, wow, we couldn't get anything from DeAndre Ayton. And then why it's really good to not record your knee-jerk reactions is because you actually get time to understand why things happen and what the ramifications are. So again, moving on from DeAndre Ayton was not unexpected. It was just unexpected in the manner that it happened, right? We discussed on our draft recap the pick fine, but you have five centers now. You have to make room. Like you can't just take best player available on your board and then not figure it out. This was figuring it out. But again, we have to give credit to DeAndre's camp, not Joe Cronin, because DeAndre's camp, as reported by Shams Charania, were the ones who approached Joe Cronin about a buyout. And apparently, when you do a buyout during this time of the NBA calendar year, it is actually very beneficial for the original franchise because DeAndre Ayton gave up, I believe, like $10 million of his salary. And that comes directly off of Portland's books, which is beautiful. So now, instead of a $35 million player on your books, it's just 25
20.
million.
Yeah.
And I get it. People are thinking we couldn't get anything for him. Why not just let him play out this year and then let him walk? I would rebuttal that with what is the difference? The money is gone, right? It's now just 25 instead of 35. But if the end goal was to get DeAndre Ayton off the roster, DeAndre Ayton is now off the roster.
Hmm.
And if the goal is to develop Donovan Clingan, develop Young Hansen, and see what you got with Robert Williams III, this is how it's done. You cannot have DeAndre Ayton gobbling up 30 to 35 minutes, 10 to 15 shots a night.
Yeah, the usage, like,
That's
and it's building.
Sage, that does nobody any favors because DA already knows he's on the outs, right? He knows he's not coming back. So then you risk a locker room turning a little tumultuous,
Well,
right?
yeah, one. Well, I'm thinking about the chemistry that's built between Donovan Clingan and Scoot Henderson with 28 minutes of playing time together instead of the 14 at max. You know what I mean? Because you're not playing DA and Donovan together. So it just is the more the chemistry between if you really believe that Donovan Clingan is going to be a major pillar of the team since you drafted him so highly, you gotta be able to see what the it's the whole data conversation that we talked about. And I think that the DA was really DA in his camp was smart. Like, like him being the starting center of the Lakers, having them with the potential of, he got a 2 year. He can prove that he can play with Luca. He can prove that he can play with in the big city with all of the hype surrounding him. Like it was a great move on this guy. I'm just curious. Have the Blazers and any other? I feel like we aren't the best run franchise in the world. Have we ever done this where it's like, we're gonna buy you out and you have that extra year. We're paying you X number of dollars to play against us. Have you ever seen that in any Blazers uh in your 30 plus years of being a fan? Have you ever seen that?
Well, they did it with Andrew Nicholson
But that
when
yeah.
when they traded him to Brooklyn for Alan Crabb after
Yeah.
mistakenly matching that restricted free agent offer sheet that the Nets gave him after the 2016 season. We still have Didi Ludauza's,
Yeah.
$250,000 on the books for the next 3 years. But no, this is really the first prime player that, and I think this is becoming a new trend
Yeah,
in the
I
NBA.
mean Bradley Beal might get bought out
Bradley Beal's going to get bought out. We saw the Bucks really double, triple, quadruple down
with
on
Damian.
Giannis by
Yeah.
waiving and stretching Damian Lillard over 5 years. They essentially could be paying Damian Lillard to harass them the following season with the Boston Celtics if he goes to Boston, right?
Yeah.
Like that is just I think the
How
new
much? It's 5 years because it's two plus.
it's double plus one.
Yeah, so they're paying Damian for 5 years to play against them. So I mean, the stretch provision was such a important tool for NBA franchises to use back when it was brought into the CBA. But now we're seeing it being utilized now. I like what it is for Portland because of the center spots, but yeah, the Milwaukee doing that is you're putting a lot of stress on your financials. I guess this year they're fine, but are they really gonna win with Ryan Rollins and Kevin Porter being their point guards? I don't know, but yeah, it has been a wild free agency in terms of the stretch provision.
Yeah, and for DeAndre Ayton, there clearly was not a market for him. There were reports, there were deals on the table, but nothing of substantial value coming back to Portland, maybe just matching money. And would you really want like Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber taking up 22 million on your books
No, I'd
and
rather just
roster
have it
spot?
be. I'd
Just
rather just
clear. I'd
yeah,
rather have
clear.
the roster spot. And
Yeah.
also, it opens up Portland to now offer up the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which is roughly around $14 million. And another wrinkle in this new CBA, which I really like, and I don't think we've seen any team utilize it yet, it's not just for signing a player in free agency. The mid-level exception can be used, I believe, one time on an annual basis. If you do not choose to sign a player, you can use that almost as a trade exception and just
Hmm.
you could go to Boston and say, Sam Hauser, you make $12 million. We can absorb you into that non-taxpayer mid-level exception. And Boston, you get all this tax savings. We get a player basically for free. Maybe you swap second round picks. Who knows? But that is something to keep an eye on with the Portland Trailblazers. Maybe they utilize it at the trade deadline or leading up to the deadline, as maybe some teams fall on hard times and are now facing a luxury tax bill where
Hmm.
they know they're not going to make a deep playoff run. So it allows them to be a little bit more advantageous. Again, I've seen folks online really anxious that the Blazers haven't signed anyone or made another move. I would rebuttal and say, who do you want them to sign? This is a very weak free agency class. Do not just sign players to sign players. Like keep that roster flexibility. Yes, they have 13 players under contract. Yes, they need to fill that one extra spot at minimum. Fine. Sign a guy at a vet min, or if you're able to make a 3-for-1 trade with Jerami Grant, like something along those lines, but keep your flexibility
Hmm.
as long as you possibly can. And I like the idea of, being able to kind of be a lifeline for a team out there. It
Kind of
worked.
what Brooklyn did when they were getting all these first round
Yeah,
picks.
it worked for Portland in a different situation when they actually had cap room.
Yeah,
They
for
were able to
the
absorb
air job.
Anderson Varejao, right, for a 2018 Cleveland first, and then Cleveland wanted to move that up, and so Portland was able to get a 2017 first instead, and that's how they had 3 picks going into that draft. Where had they drafted right, as we've discussed, that set your franchise up so much more, advantageously going forward. But again, it's the flexibility that really helps you navigate these new CBA, taxes and aprons and all of this, because a tax is nothing but dead money as well, right?
Hmm.
So it's all going to help Portland be able to kind of take advantage and lay in the weeds and just kind of wait and be patient. And I think that's exactly what they should do.
And we
Now,
have so much depth on our roster anyway. Like Ryan Rupert's not going to get minutes when there's Tumani, Denny, Jeremy Grant, Chris Murray all ahead of him. So we're already in a stranglehold for the roster spots as it is. Could you imagine signing that 14th person now? Utilizing our MLE, that person's going to get no burn. So being patient in this deadline or this free agency period is really useful because there isn't that alpha free agent class. This is kind of just it is what it is. I'd rather just maintain the flexibility. Jeremy Grant has a big contract. Like if we traded him to the Lakers and we need to take Rui and Dalton and whoever else back, we need to have those spaces available.
yeah, I think Jeremy Grant is the only Blazer I would be actively looking to move. Everyone else I would just keep unless a no-brainer of a deal comes your way. But I wouldn't like Matisse Thybulle. There's rumors that the Lakers have called on. No, just keep Thybulle, keep his expiring contract. He is a really good veteran defensive backup presence. I wouldn't trade Robert Williams the third. It doesn't make any sense. Like we don't need to be trading expirings for longer money,
Hmm.
right? Like the goal with Matisse and Robert is you kind of want a win-win with both of them, right? They're expiring deals. They are going to probably play big roles if the team is going to make a playoff push. Now, at the deadline, if they are both healthy and performing well, becomes a decision. Do you kind of push your playoff goals to the next year and cash in those chips, especially with Robert Williams, because there's really no future for Rob in Portland if
Hmm.
Donovan and Hanson are as advertised. Thibault probably still could have a role into the future as again that defensive role playing backup, especially if his spot up shooting continues to stay at the level at it is. But those are the players that I would try to build value in. And I think the Blazers right now have pretty clean books.
Hmm.
I've seen folks kind of talking about, oh, we have to buy out Jeremy Grant and we have to do what the Bucks did with Dame with JG. And I would just want to say, like, have people done the math?
Different, yeah,
Because
those different
Jeremy Grant
situations.
Jeremy Grant is owed $102 million over the next 3 years. So if you double that, add one, that's 7 years of dead cap at a 14.66 hit every year for 7 years. And if people are like, well, 7 years isn't that long. Let's just take a rewind in time because 7 years is actually a very long time ago. 7 years ago, right now, Sage, we are talking about the Blazers coming off of a postseason sweep of the New Orleans
Mm.
Pelicans. Like that's how long ago this is.
I mean, how many iPhone like that's 7 iPhone
We had
generation.
just drafted Anthony Simons. LeBron James had just went to the Lakers, right? Like
That's a president and three-fourths. Like, that's a long time. And
so
14 million.
for
Yeah.
14.5 million for seven, that is a long time on your books. And I don't think that is the answer. I really want to keep Grant on the roster if they can get him to come off the bench. I think if you start him, I think that's that is a different podcast for a different day. But if you're, I don't care about the money. He's Joe Cronin kind of already made his bed with that deal, right? We've already discussed that ad nauseum. He wasn't, recruiting against anybody else. He was only betting against the Blazers. He wasn't going up against bidding against anybody else for JG. There was no reason to make that deal as long as it was, but that's a sunk cost. You kind of have to live with it. And he's still a valuable player, a valuable shooter, and a valuable veteran presence. As long as I think they're committed to going to the youth movement. But
I mean,
going,
he had his worst year of his career last year. I mean, like as the Jerami Grant developments arc that you've
yeah,
seen, like obviously his starting years in Philly, he was probably not as skilled as he is now. But let's be real about something. He was still a pretty damn impressive defender. He's able to handle usage. Like Tumani Kamara would never be able, with his development arc right now, to handle the uses that JG was able to handle. Yes, I know that Denny handled it, but like Jerami Grant is still a very skilled player, even though last year was awful for him on the offensive end, where he was just like a net negative player. But he's still a really skilled player. There isn't that many guys on this team that can handle the usage that are that tall. Yes, Shade and Scoop, but they're like the fact that he can break somebody down at 6'8", 6'9" is a really valuable commodity. And I don't think you can't say the same for Denny because all he's trying to do is attack the basket. Jeremy Grant has the ability to go all three levels with his scoring, where Denny can only go directly to the basket. So as much as I hated watching Jeremy because I know he could have done better, he's still super, super talented.
yeah, and again, as long as he's not a roadblock, which Simons and Ayton were, I am fine with keeping Grant on the roster.
And
But
there were times where we were talking about, oh, Jeremy Grant looks great with all these young dudes. He's the one adult on the floor. This looks great. Now we have a chance to see if that actually works. Because, I mean, Jeremy's under contract for X amount of years. We have to see if this shit works.
yeah, and he's getting paid too. Like I would hope there's not an ego there that's like I have to start. Like JG, you're getting your cash regardless, right?
And he's building roots here. Have you seen all of his social media? Like that is super. Like Jeremy Grant is one of the most Portlandest Portland people ever, bro. Like I see him on TikTok going to like local small businesses, purchasing stuff. Like that is he's built roots in Rip City.
Yeah, the worst thing that Joe Cronin could do would be to attach assets to get off of Jeremy's contract. That is the absolute worst thing that he could do. So if it's that or keeping Jeremy, you have to keep Jeremy. That is it's just the decision that Joe Cronin made in the summer of 2023 when he signed JG to that 5-year extension. Like that's just that is I think a decision that may come back to bite him, but that's the decision that he made. We have to live with it and we have to find out a way to make it work. And if you are able to harness and, bring boost up his value while the team continues to perform well, even better. But I would say that even with adding Jrue Holiday's extra money, even with having JG's money, that's what 60, 70 million dollars just for this year for those two players. Portland's books are very clean at the
Hmm.
moment. If you just look at Ayton, Rob Williams, and Matisse Thybulle, that's over $50 million in expiring money coming off the books in the summer of 2026. That does not account for Duop Reith, Ryan Rupert, any two-way players, or a real possibility declining to extend the qualifying offer to Chris Murray.
Hmm.
Yes, they need to account for potential Shaden Sharp and Tumani Kamara extensions, but the projected salary cap for the 2026-2027 season is $165 million. It's 100 just shy of 155 right now. So I know the Blazers have never been a free agent destination, but if they wanted to play the free agent market next year, they could throw their hat in the ring. They could be a team that takes back big salary and gets assets for doing so,
Hmm.
even with Jrue and JG having that much money on the back end of their careers and you know it would be 2 years next summer left on their contract. So the books are actually pretty clean. I think they're smart not to take in any extra long-term money. There's been reports they're interested in Corey Kispert, or they should be interested in Corey Kispert. Corey Kispert's got 4 years left on his deal. Miss me with that. Like, no, no long-term deals unless they're a bona fide like star player. Like, I like what the Blazers are doing from as well as they can. Like, yes, they made mistakes as we've discussed, but keeping the books relatively clean because you do know if your young players hit, you're going to have to pay them.
Mhm.
Um, I think they're in a relatively good spot for a small market franchise.
Again, Corey Kispert going somewhere. We are not the destination that we could utilize a Corey Kispert right this second. I don't think we are the right team. Like if we're talking about like like if New Orleans was like, yo, we're trying. I think Corey Kispert would be pretty awesome there. I just don't know like if I like with what he is, you could find somebody very like Kobe Bryant can do exactly what Corey Kispert did, and he was a second round pick. So you can find the cheaper versions of what Corey Kispert is on the scrap heap. Yes, I think Corey Kispert is good, and he'll be an NBA player for 12 years maybe, but you can find that value somewhere on the chopping block, like Brea, Max, the guy from uh West Virginia. Like there are shooters that probably don't have homes. That there's some elite shooters everywhere. I would trade for Sam Howell because I or
Hauser,
what's that?
Sam Hauser.
Hauser, sorry. I think I can I think I put together a bunch of white dudes on the Boston Celtics and said the name. But yeah, like Hauser's special shooting. Corey
Yeah,
Kispert isn't.
it is not. No,
Yeah.
Hauser's contract is better. It's cheaper. Yeah, and they found Hauser just like Miami found Max Strus, Miami found Duncan Robinson. Like these players can be found, right? Especially if you're just looking for a one-dimensional player, especially if you're building around your playmaking hub centers, and you want Scoot to have a larger role. Like the one thing that I think so as we move into this offseason, what's next for the Blazers, right? Like they have 13 players under contract. They need to get up to a 14 player minimum. We know that. We've discussed about their ability to add via the non-tax taxpayer mid-level exception. Sage, if you were building out this roster and let's say like what is next? What do the Blazers need to do, assuming they can't get off of Jerami Grant's deal? I think there's a huge hole in the shooting
Yeah,
category.
the shooting is the thing now. We have playmakers, we have Hanson, we have Scoot, we have Donovan Clingan, we have Danny Avi. I think Jerami
Shaden,
Grant's a willing passer. We have guys that can pass, but we do not have any spacers and have not replaced the one dynamic shooter that we had on the roster in Anthony Simons. I think finding somebody that can space the floor, that can play some sort of respectable defense is something that we can't have like a Duncan Robinson who's just like a absolute sieve, but we need to find like the shooters like Isaiah like the find our version of Isaiah Joe.
that would be a nice player to target because OKC has got just an
A
abundance
bajillion
of
players.
players.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you're, looking at the glass half full, you can say, well, Scoot Henderson really turned his shot around last year. Off the dribble, off of the catch. It looks at a certain point in time, he was a higher percentage shooter than Anthony Simons, even on good volume. Like he's working on that in the offseason. You could say maybe Shaden reduces the amount of threes, but steps in and hits those mid range at an even better clip that he is, and then selectively shoots the three. You can say Tumani, his three on the catch and shoot. Matisse, the three off the catch and shoot, continues to stay pretty high. Jerami Grant kind of comes back to form, and you've got a shooter there. Like I think that is the glass half full.
But
I
do
think
you think if I'm like let's just set I'm letting Scoot shoot. I'm letting
I think Scoot's going to beat you. You cannot let he's I think he proved over the back half of the season that he is able to get his shot off and he is shooting with confidence. Like if
what
teams
I'm
want to
saying
do
is
that,
there's
like
nobody that's dynamic enough, so our spacing is going to be awful. We need to find some like you can say all this stuff, but because we had Anthony Simons on the floor, it made shit easier for everybody else to get those shots because you had to guard Anthony Simons.
I would say yes and no, but because yes, Anthony was the most dynamic three-point shooter we had, but most of his shots were not unassisted. They were most of his shots were, excuse me, unassisted. So he was the one kind of creating for himself rather than, let's say, Scoot or Denny creating for him. So Portland just needs a floor spacer that allows Scoot, Shade, and Denny to get downhill and then kick it out. Like,
Exactly.
Yes, Anthony was a good shooter, but we rarely used him off the ball. Like, it didn't work with Dame off the ball. It didn't work with Scooter Shaden off the ball. Like, Anthony needed the ball in his hands. We need a shooter, but also a moving shooter, right? Like, you can shoot off of screens, pin downs, running
You
baseline to
think Chauncey
baseline.
Billups is running pin down action for a shooter?
He's fucking better if he wants to keep his job. That's all, that's
I
all I'm
think
gonna
we
say.
should hit up Jordan Hawkins, New Orleans, to see what's up with Jordan
That's an
Hawkins.
awesome fit. Portland just needs a gunner off of the bench. And I think expectations are high for the Blazers. That there's no more, I think it was FanDuel or someone, Mike Richmond released some of these numbers earlier today. They had Blazers at like 32 and a half wins, third worst in the Western Conference.
Oh, I take the over on that.
I would take the over on it too.
Yeah,
Um, I think if they are not in the play-in this year,
it's a fail.
Billups needs to be fired.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
not saying
failure.
win the play-in. You need to be one of the top 10 best teams in the Western Conference. There is no if, ands, or buts.
You needed to be top 66%.
This would be year four of Shaden, year three of Scoot, year three of Tumani, year two of Donovan. Like you still have Jerami Grant. You brought in Jrue Holiday. Like your year fucking five of Chauncey Billups. Like some something has to hit. And I would say Joe Cronin probably on the hot seat too if this doesn't work because we speculated our last episode whether Joe Dumars actually made him that offer. And he said in his press conference, he started calling teams from 9 to 13, offering up that juicy 2026 unprotected first round pick, best of New Orleans and Milwaukee. Guess one of those two teams projected to have worse record than Portland was by FanDuel. The New Orleans Pelicans. That could be the golden ticket that Joe Cronin passed on. So that could be another, you know, ding in his armor because
I mean,
if he, we're talking about all the good he's done. He has done good things, but like the bad, like he's had some misses, Sage, like some bricks.
he's yeah, like
I feel like it's feast or famine with Joe, if I'm being honest.
bro, I've never wanted to be like, yo, I know more about basketball than anyone that's professionally got a job in basketball. But there are times where I'm like, Jesus Christ, I know more than our general manager. What the fuck? Like that shouldn't be happening. I should not like, and yes, I'm obsessed with basketball. I create content about basketball, but I should not be like, we've messed up really badly here, guys. What the hell? Like, I'm starting to just think Joe Cronin doesn't know shit. Like that's where I'm at. Like, I just don't think Joe Cronin's good. And like the trading Damian and getting these pieces, sure, that's great. But everybody was gonna do that shit. Everyone was gonna get positive assets for the best Portland Trailblazer ever. So yeah, Joe Cronin has
I
a
will
lot to
give him
prove.
credit because he was kind of forced into a corner to only trade him to Miami for Miami scraps, and he was able to work out a deal with the Bucks in secret, which I think that takes a lot of skill and finesse, especially given the Bucks did not want it to be public that they were trading Jrue Holiday, that they even thought about it. So he had to work a relationship that he says, you're getting a player that you don't even know back in this deal. And he's
That's
like,
relationship management.
that's a skill set.
Fair
That
enough.
to
I
be a
still think he's
GM,
ass.
I don't think he's. I think he's maybe. I think he's run the mill right now, and I think this season is going to kind of go one of two ways, right? We can start to see what he was seeing with Yang Hanson, and if that hits, that boosts Cronin stock high. You know, if Jrue works out and he's that mentor that Scoot and Shaden need, adds to the defensive identity, and he comes back healthy, like that's another win, right? I think getting off of Ayton, right? Not doubling
But he
down.
wasn't the. If
I
what the
think we're
reports are
going.
true.
I would. I'm fully convinced they were going to trade him. They were looking. He was in rumors. Like I do not think they were going to go into the season with Ayton. Yes, they got a advantage by Ayton's camp giving them an olive branch. Absolutely. But I don't think they were going to go with Ayton into the next season. I give him credit for not doubling down and signing Simons to an extension. Like so he has done some good. I'm willing to admit that. Um, Now what I want to see is him work with Chauncey a little bit more uh harmoniously. Like he says, I've got these young guys. You need to develop them. I'll give you some veteran pieces, but we need to, if we're going to be good in the long term, we both got 3-year deals, right? They're set for 3 years. If they get fired, whatever, they get paid. They have security, which is very rare in today's NBA front office and head coaching ranks. I would say if we want to be good by the end of year 3 to get our next deal, it's not whether Jrue Holiday is winning us games. It's can you get it to where Scoot and Shaden are winning us games? Is Donovan clinging, defensively setting us up for success, right? The veterans are a good like addition on top, but your core foundation has to come from all of this internal investment in God, what do we year 4 of lottery picks. You need at some point to just say, I'm pushing all of my chips in, all of my years of scouting, all of the years of drafting and looking over and development. I am pushing my chips into this core and I'm gonna bet on them. That's all I want to see this year. That's all I've been asking to see for the past since we started this rebuild is you've had the gumption to say, Dame, I'm sorry, we're drafting Scoot, and you're essentially trading away the franchise's leading scorer. Then double down and say, Scoot, I believe in you. Let's go. Shaden, I believe in you. Donovan, we're not going to play you like a designated hitter every other game. We believe in you. Like, let's believe in our players and just see what we have. Like, I still don't know what we have, Sage.
Yeah, and there was some failure on the part of the team for the disconnect between general manager and coach has been awful. Awful, awful, awful. Now I think Chauncey has to play these young dudes. Like in this stage of Jrue Holiday's career, he's not a point guard. He just is not. He's gonna pass it to whoever else is on the floor with him. In this part of the year, I don't think that this time of his career, he's not gonna have a high usage rate. He's gonna play his role. He's gonna miss threes. He's gonna play defense. Like that's what Jrue Holiday is at this stage in his career. He's not gonna attack closeouts that often. He's going to be just the mentor on the team that's getting paid a exorbitant salary. If you watch what Jrue did on Boston, he just locked up. Like that's what he's gonna do. He never was a good dribbler. He never ever ever was. He was never the main guy because even in Philly in his All-Star years, he had Evan Turner with him. He had Andre Iguodala at the start of his career. Like he was never the guy. Dell Demps traded 2 first-round picks in in the thought that he could be the guy, and he proven over and over and over he wasn't wanting to be the guy. So I think that they have to have Scoot have that big playmaking role. And I know Donovan Killian can help on the playmaking, but I think for a lot of this part of this year, it's gonna be on Scoot and Shaden to make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Does the medical yellow flags from Jrue Holiday give you any hesitation into taking on his salary? Obviously, it became a 1-for-1 swap instead of the Portland sending out 2 seconds because of, you know,
Of course it
physical
does. I mean,
or
but you knew you like if you've looked at the career arc of Jrue Holiday, you knew he had stress fractures in his legs. You knew that shit wasn't going to be good for his medicals. So, with the knowledge that you have of Jrue, like he was out for 2 full seasons with stress fractures. Like you knew those medicals weren't great. He played on it, but he's always like the fact that his youth was taken away because of stress fractures has to be part of what he is as a 33-year-old man, 35-year-old man. Jesus Christ. Well, I'm 33 and I watched him when I was like 20, 24, 25, so I get it. But like, yeah, his medical records suck, bro, because of all his major injuries. Like stress reactions and stress fractures is horrifying.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if so I kind of took the yellow flags as a bit of a win just because I'm a Scoot Henderson optimist and I'm like, I think that's a good sign for Scoot starting, and I think it's a good sign for Scoot playing heavy minutes. And I think obviously Portland needs to maybe use one of those roster spots on another ball handler.
Yeah, I think that.
Because I would probably not play Jrue Holiday on the second night of back-to-backs. I would really load manage the hell out of Jrue
Oh,
Holiday.
absolutely.
One, you're getting development from your number three overall pick in Scoot Henderson, but two, you're keeping him fresh for either a playoff push down April or an actual play-in game, or God forbid they make the playoffs. You have him for the playoffs. Like I think you need him
Kind of what like did
come
with
April.
Alex Caruso. They didn't play Alex Caruso big minutes in the regular season. There's no need to. You had all of these young, hungry guards playing in front of him. You didn't need Alex Caruso to be awesome in the regular season. I think that's kind of what you need to do with Jrue, especially because of his age being so much older than Alex and his injury history. You don't want him to get hurt in January against the Memphis Grizzlies, and I have no idea if that they play, but like you don't want it to be some regular season game where you're pushing him to play 35 minutes when it doesn't matter. I'd rather play Scoot. I'd rather find a point guard that's young that doesn't have the like. If we had Ryan Rollins, I would have felt amazing about our guard depth. But like, just finding somebody that needs development minutes at the guard position because I don't think Drew's gonna. I, I don't think Drew wants to be on ball, but I don't think Drew's gonna want to play big minutes on back-to-back games. So I think finding somebody that can utilize those minutes and play and develop using these in game in real regular season minutes is going to be huge. So I think we need to find a point guard, and I think we should find some more shooting.
For the old heads out there, if the Blazers could sign a guy like Danny Young, that would be ideal. Third point guard, plus size, awesome defender, knockdown 3-point shooter, um, egoless, didn't care about his role, just was a really selfless player, did all the dirty work. Very similar also to maybe for some of the younger folks, a Greg Anthony as well. Just going to play defense, hit the open threes. That was my biggest criticism of Delano Banton is every time he came into the game, it was Delano time, and
It
he
was
was
yeah, yeah, yeah. He
he was
nobody
not.
worked with him. Like
And Jrue Holiday took the number five. That was Delano's number. So I don't think there's any bringing back of Delano. And I know he had some fans here in Portland, but I don't really like watching me first, basically chuckers, especially when they come in as a third, fourth guard. And it's like, okay, this guy's not going to pass the ball, right? He's just going to go and try to get his in his own way. And I think we need to continue to play team ball. And I think that will get Portland to where they want to be. Sage, was there anything else you wanted to discuss? I know we'll do a halfway summer league recap before you go on your vacation next week. Obviously, the Blazers have a few summer league games that does kick off July 11th against the Golden State Warriors. So it'll be really fun to see how the big man looks. But again, as a friendly reminder, it's just summer league. Some players look like Nicholas Batum, and some players look like Jared Bayless. And Blazer fans will get that reference. And so you just got to treat summer league like summer league, and use it as entertainment.
I think I want to just say that I think Robert Williams is going to have a pretty big role. I don't think Hanson is ready for that. I think this year is going to be dedicated to him in Rip City remix and trying to get that added strength in him. I think we're going to see a lot of Robert Williams as the backup to the backup five to Donovan Clingan. So
I
I'm
predict that Rob has a great year
mhm.
and that Joe Cronin is going to have a big dilemma on his hands. The Blazers will be in playoff contention and it'll be trade deadline day and he'll be like, this is going to be the same decision he's going to have to make as last year. Do I trade Rob or do I keep him? Because if you keep him, yeah, you get this extra 3 months of basketball, but he's not going to resign to be the third center. You
No,
spent two
yeah.
two high picks on center, so you may have to give up some short-term success for long-term gain. And I don't honestly know what Joe Cronin would do if that's out there. So, but I do think Rob will have a good year, but it's going to be an interesting choice that we'll get to watch Joe Cronin make.
Just think about what Robert Williams can do in 15 minutes.
He's great.
Like in those 15 minutes, he produces at like one of the best basketball players in the world's numbers. Like he produces so much in that short amount of time.
We talk about finding the next Draymond. He's pretty damn close.
Yeah, like he produces at like an outrageously high per minute. He's not going to play big minutes just because you know what he is, but in the 13 to 18 minutes a game that he plays, he's producing like a maniac. I think that as much as I would love Jabari to be back here, I think the Philadelphia move is good just because of how much that team deals with injuries. I think that he's going to be in the NBA relatively soon because you know about Joel Embiid, you know about Paul George, Yabu's not on the team anymore. Like so, it's Andre Drummond. I think is still on the roster. I think that Jabari's staying. And the last thing I have, I hope that because of the fire and the forest fires in Oregon, that the WNBA team is not the Portland Fire because I just think that is gross to me to
I
celebrate something that's destroyed cities.
I think they need some serious marketing help. I don't know
Oh
why
my God, yeah.
why do you launch a brand, Sage, on a Tuesday afternoon at 3 o'clock? You're not setting yourself up for success. And so I really hope they get their shit together because it's not looking good so far.
No.
Losing your president 3 months in, you don't have, I mean, it's taken them almost over a year, I think, to get their branding launched. I put down season ticket deposit over a year ago. I haven't got one email sent saying, yeah, we got it, or here's what we're planning on doing with it. It's just
You know
they
what the
need.
Blazers, oh no, you know what Portland's women basketball feels like? I don't know if you've ever dealt with this, but you have a favorite rapper that isn't signed to a major label, and they have all of these great ideas, but zero follow through. I feel like the Portland women's basketball is like, oh, we get to get this album after a year of donations? Awesome! Like it feels like just a rapper with no fucking no backing. Like that's kind of how I just feel about it. It's like there's no follow through, there's no thought being put into how you set up your product. And I think it's so super exciting that the Portland gets to, we get to see how a franchise is being created and made in 2025. We have a very easy, like we get to see it, right? But I just feel like I'm hoping that Cannabis drops an album in 5 years after my donation of like $50. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make sense. And it just feels like we're just throwing ideas at the wall and see what sticks.
We will find out. We will also be dropping,
They
once.
better archive that shit because I am 3 to 5 is busy times.
Yeah, it's really really not ideal. But we will cover the W once the expansion draft kicks off and all of that stuff. But for now we're heading into summer league and we will be with you guys here in about another week or so. And hopefully we have some more news to discuss. The Blazers roster still definitely is not complete. So Sage, let our listeners know where they can find us.
We are available wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, all those other feeder sites. Check us out on Instagram. Dustin does a really good job with that. Check out my TikTok where I talk about basketball. I do like daily hoop grids. I'm starting to watch film on there. Check out all of the stuff that we're doing, we still have that blog that I'll probably start writing on eventually, holybackboard.com. Thank you to everybody for watching and hanging out with us. We will be back pretty damn soon. Talk to y'all later. Peace. All right, it is lunchtime. All right, talk to you later.
Later, bud.